Hi, everybody. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing very well. And I have to admit, I'm doing quite well myself. So, with that being said, I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you very, very much for tuning in to me once again. And as always, I really do appreciate it. And I would like to welcome all of you to another episode of TJ's Topics. And for those of you who've been watching me all this time, I think it's safe to say that you know who I am. I am TJ. And I tell you what, it is such a pleasure to be with each of you again today. I consider it an honor and a privilege and a joyous time just to be able to come into your presence on any given occasion. And today I do have something that I would like to discuss briefly. And and I think it's something that could very well benefit all of you out there. Now, you know, when you're growing up, you probably have people who, like to poke fun at you for whatever reason. I know when I was a child, I had a number of people who always made fun of me for various reasons. And one of those reasons was my voice. They always laughed at the way I talked. They they cracked all kinds of jokes. I mean, they were such harsh and mean and degrading jokes all about the way I talked. Now, I guess you can say that I inherited my voice or the tone of it from my late father. And I, so I mean, that's something I can't help. But I don't know. It's like so many people have said all kinds of things to me over the years, and they did all they could to make me feel bad. On the other hand, I've had a number of people who have offered me some very gracious compliments on my voice, saying that I need to be on the radio or or TV or something. And I was very, very honored and quite flattered as well. But that actually leads into my topic for today, which is leaving your voice in the world. That's what I want to talk to you about for a few minutes. Leaving your voice in the world. Now, we know a lot of people and have known a lot of people who had such great voices, speaking voices as well as singing voices. And a lot of those people have transitioned. They have crossed over to the other side. But in a sense, it's like they're still with us because though they may be gone physically, but vocally, they are still around. All because of the way they shared and used their voices while they were here. You think about people like Whitney Houston and Aretha Franklin and George Michael and Elvis Presley and I mean, and the list goes on and on. Tupac, and Biggie Small, all these different rappers and R&B singers and country singers like Conway Twitty, that's going way back there, and Roy Clark that used to come on Hee Haw. I used to love watching Hee Haw when I was little, and they used to tickle me to death. They was something else on that show. Minnie Pearl and Grandpa Jones and all of them. But they all had something in common, and that is they utilized their voices in order to sing and perform for the crowds that they entertained, both by way of television, radio, and even in movies. Some of them appeared in movies like, you had different movie stars. Some are no longer with us. And people's voices say a lot. I mean, folk don't realize how much of an impact they can have on this entire planet simply by opening their mouth, using their voices. And it's very simple. However, you have a lot of people who are afraid to use their voices, and they're afraid to, get in front of a crowd and put themselves out there. A lot of people are just not up to being vulnerable. Vulnerability is something that doesn't sit too well with a lot of folk for various reasons. And I was like that once myself. I wasn't too big on getting up in front of crowds, and considering how I had been laughed at and made fun of ever since childhood, all because of the way I talked. It made me that much more nervous about the whole thing. But now I'm to a point where, I don't care about what those people say or think, what they said and thought of me back then, or what they might say or think of me now. Because look, if they're not paying my bills and they're not keeping a roof over my head, putting gas in my car, providing for me in any way, then what does it matter what they say or think? I could care less. And I think all of us should have that same attitude when it comes to people's opinions, most of which don't matter anyway. I mean, because we don't even ask for their opinions. They offer it to us free of charge. So I'm going to ask you a question, and you may feel free to answer if you wish, or just think about it in your head, what your answer might be. Why should we share our voices as often as we possibly can? Why should we do that? Why should we put ourselves out there like that and not be afraid of what the crowd is going to think and what they're going to say and how they're going to react? Because think about this. You got people who are putting themselves out there every day, and they definitely don't care what anyone says or thinks. For example, Donald Trump. Now, he doesn't care what anybody says or thinks about him. And then there's Ron DeSantis. And he doesn't care either. I mean, he's literally making an ass out of himself. If I have to say it. But it's the truth. It doesn't make any sense. But on the other hand, there are those who have good voices and whose voices need and should be heard. And they deserve an opportunity to be given a platform of some type, whereby they might be able to have an impact on the world in a positive manner. And I think that's a good thing. So again, why should we share our voices as often as we possibly can? Now, I was able to dig and find a little information online to help me explain to each of you why we shouldn't mind sharing our voices. And one website I went to was www.bernardhiller.com. And some good information I discovered, and it helps me to better explain why it's so important that we not be afraid to use our voices and share them with the world any chance we get. The voice is the most powerful instrument in the human body, and that we know to be true. That's why singing is so effective in penetrating our hearts. Well, that's something I did for many years as a choir member in church. I sung in the choir for almost 20 years. And I became a lead vocalist during the latter years of my tenure as a choir member. And though I never considered myself a real good singer, people always told me that they enjoyed it, but then I had critics as well, you know. But I didn't care because I wasn't singing for them in the first place. Know that your voice is the mirror to your soul. How effective you are using your voice will determine your success in love, relationships, business, dreams, careers, and every single aspect of life. Your voice transmits your feelings, emotions, hurts, wants, and needs from you to others. So those are some of the reasons why we shouldn't mind utilizing our voice. You know, sharing our voices with those around us, I think it offers them part of us, a part of us that might not otherwise be experienced by those within our circles or abroad. Your voice, it has a way of giving out a certain message to people. And, oftentimes your voice can help open the door to various opportunities that you might not have otherwise had presented to you. But you also have to be careful and realize that just as sure as your voice can help open doors on your behalf, if you don't play your cards right, they could also cause some doors to be closed on your behalf. And let me tell you how. You've probably heard the phrase, keep your mouth shut and don't talk yourself out of a blessing and and stuff like that. Well, sometimes people run their mouth too much right when there's a great big life-changing opportunity that's being offered to them, or they're about to win a case, like in court or whatever. The judge is about to rule in their favor, or the lawyer who is representing them is about to get them a large payout or huge settlement, whatever the case might be. Well, if you run around there running your mouth and you or in the case of like some of these sisters out here with these funky attitudes, you wringing your neck and snapping and all. Oh, honey, you may as well get ready because you are about to go back to the poorhouse from whence you came. Because you're not going to get a penny. So that's why if it looks like you're getting ready to win something or receive something that you didn't even ask for or wasn't even going after, by all means, keep your mouth shut. Even if you know you're disqualified or you're not qualified enough for a thing like a job or anything. Favor has a way of reaching out to those who are less than qualified, and your voice can play a part in the favor that is extended to you. Now, let's talk a little further about the importance of sharing our voices with the world and why leaving your voice in the world is ultimately important. Because your voice leaves a legacy for future generations. It helps you grow as a person and allows you to shape your narrative in life. Those are very important reasons why sharing our voice is always optimal, is very important, and can prove to be quite lucrative. Now, reason number one on why it's important that we not be afraid to share our voice. Leave a legacy for future generations. The main reason why sharing your voice is essential is that it leaves a legacy for future generations. Your story is unique, and it's an essential part of your family's history. Now, you may have had relatives, and think about this. And matter of fact, this may be kind of getting off the subject, but think about something for a second. Now, sometimes, or really most times, I'll say, in the majority of families, there's always a sense of competition of some kind, whether it be athletic or academic, career-wise, who can find the best job or the highest paying job, or who has the most years on their job, or who can drive the nicest car, who can live in the nicest home and stuff like that. But hardly ever is there any competition in any family regarding a person, people's voices, the tone of their voice, and and what they can do with their voices. You don't find too much competition in families when it comes to issues such as that. And perhaps that's a good thing, because everyone's voice is different and is unique to them. So no one else can be like you. And I'm quite sure that most times you don't want to be like anybody else. Now, reason number two, why we should always be willing to share our voices whenever we can, is it helps to break your limiting beliefs. It's not about what you get out of life. It's about what you have to be. When we share our voices, we are vulnerable. We put ourselves out there, and that takes courage. It's normal to feel fear when we post online, whether it's a selfie or a video. But the only way to get better at it is to feel the fear and do it anyway. It's not going to be perfect at first, but with time and effort, it will get better. Sharing your voice helps you break through your own glass ceiling and limiting beliefs. And quite honestly, I was afraid of putting my voice online for years. And I've been on social media now for, ever since 2009. So that's been 14 years that I've been on social media. And I would like to say that for the first, the first 10 years, maybe, I didn't want to speak on camera. I didn't want to get on there and talk, and definitely not try to sing or anything like that. And I think a lot of it had to do with how I was laughed at and made fun of as a child. by classmates and you know, the children of babysitters that I had in the past and stuff like that. You know, and I think about one other thing too. Some of the people who laughed at me over the years have gone on. They're no longer here to use their voice. Those same people who made fun of my voice, a lot of them have already gone, and I'm still here to utilize mine. Now, I'm not saying that as a way of, being mean toward them or getting back at them, but I'm just saying, we really have to be careful how we do people in life because you just never know what lies ahead. And we don't know how long we're going to be here in the first place. So that's why it's so important that we be mindful of things like that because everyone's voice matters, whether people want to believe it or not. And finally, reason number 3 on why we should use our voices every chance we get and share them with the world as much as we can. Shape your narrative. You want people to know that you're real. And how else will they know you're real unless they hear you speak? Because with this AI being developed, they're taking voices of real people who exist and they're applying them to like these dummies and these robots and stuff like that, trying to get out of dealing with the real people from whom they got the voices. And I think they're trying to cut corners, but that's not going to work because like was that Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell said, ain't nothing like the real thing. And that's the truth. It really is. It's important to shape your narrative in life. You're in control of your internal narrative. But what the world sees of you is essential too. By sharing your experiences, you're showing the world who you are, and that's a powerful thing. Your voice and your story matters. It's essential to share it with the world. So I'm here to tell y'all today that it's not always comfortable to get before a crowd of people to speak or to sing or, any type of performance. It's quite difficult. It really is. And I know because I've been there many, many times in many different settings. It's not easy. It can be very challenging. And a lot of people are just downright afraid to do so. They find it to be nerve-wracking. They fear what the people are going to say and what they're going to think, what their reaction might be, if they're going to boo and thumbs down and remember on those old cartoons how they used to, in the old movies, how they used to throw rotten tomatoes up on the stage. All that kind of stuff. That kind of fear is what can cause many people to back away from what would be considered to be a life-changing opportunity for them, one that would propel them to a greater level, one that would launch their careers because they're worried about what somebody's going to say. Well, I just, I hate to see people have those type of emotional experiences, but once you learn that people's opinions of you really don't matter, then you'll come to the conclusion that you know, they can shut up. To hell with their opinions because they don't matter in the first place. Are you one of those who are afraid of using your voice and sharing it with those around you, whether it be locally or nationally or internationally? You may be. Well, I would like to encourage you to just, I can't tell you to get over anything. And fear is something that most people have a very difficult time getting over. But I would like to offer you a bit of encouragement and just try. Just, just do it for the heck of it. You may be scared to death, but just try it out anyway. Do it afraid. Sometimes that's the best way for us to do anything, is to do it in fear. We're afraid, but do it afraid anyway. And oftentimes, that turns out to be the very best performance you could ever give. And your audience will receive you with utmost gratitude and applause. So this concludes my little discussion on leaving your voice in the world. And I want you to keep in mind that, when you close your eyes on this side, as we all must do one of these days, one part of you that has the potential to carry your legacy into future generations is, in fact, your voice. It doesn't matter if you sing, if you talk, if you tell jokes, whatever. Your voice will cause you to live on forever. As the case for all of these singers and actors and even politicians, presidents and senators and congressmen, all these different people who have graced this planet over the course of decades and centuries. They are continuing to live on, and they're still with us today, all because of their voice. The comedians that we've enjoyed over the years, they're still here because of their voice. You can get on YouTube and pull them up. You can watch the reruns on TV, old movies they may have played in or anything. And there they are. You hear their voice. And though they may be gone physically, but they are still with us verbally. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of TJ's Topics. I really enjoyed having you. And be sure to tune in next time when I have another little something. And I don't know what that something is going to be. I won't know until time comes. But I trust it'll be good. This is Taryn Jerome Harris, reminding you that every round goes higher and higher. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.